Space looks calm, silent, peaceful, but some of the most disturbing things have happened far above Earth, where no one could help and no one could hear. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 real stories. One, where astronauts made it back to Earth, but were already dead. Another, where a man stepped outside his spacecraft and almost never came back in. And one, where a cosmonaut watched his entire country collapse while he was still orbiting above it. These are not theories, not fiction. These actually happened. So if you enjoy real stories like this and want more content that feels real, consider subscribing, because some stories are too strange to be forgotten. He didn't get lost in space. He was never abandoned. He was too valuable to bring back. In 1991, Sergei Krikalev launched into orbit. Destination, the space station Mir. The mission was simple: stay a few months, then return home. Routine, controlled, predictable. But while he circled Earth, something below him started to collapse. The Soviet Union was falling apart. Not in space, on Earth. Governments dissolved, money lost value overnight, systems broke down, and the space program began running out of resources. Krikalev was still in contact, still receiving orders, still reporting data. Nothing had failed up there. Everything was failing down here. Bringing him back required money, coordination, a replacement crew, and suddenly, none of those things were guaranteed anymore. If he returned, the station would be empty. A national symbol, abandoned. So a decision was made. Not announced, not dramatic, just practical. Keep him in orbit. His mission was extended, then extended again, not because of danger, but because country wasn't ready for him to come back. From space, nothing looked different. The same oceans, the same continents, but the country he belonged to no longer existed. Imagine that. You leave as one person and return as someone from a country that no longer exists. For 311 days, he stayed in orbit, working, waiting, while Earth reorganized itself. Beneath him, eventually, a replacement crew was sent. Only then was he allowed to come home. He launched as a Soviet citizen. He landed in a different country. He didn't just survive space. He survived being left above a world that had completely changed without him. Space doesn't always kill you instantly. Sometimes, it lets you realize what's about to happen. In 1965, a man stepped outside his spacecraft for the first time in human history. His name was Alexei Leonov. He floated above Earth, connected only by a thin tether. Below him, the entire planet. Above him, nothing but endless black. At first, everything was perfect. He moved slowly, carefully, testing what no human had ever experienced before: weightlessness, silence, isolation. Then, something changed. His suit began to expand. In the vacuum of space, there is no pressure, so the air inside his suit started pushing outward. Slowly, relentlessly, his suit inflated. His fingers stiffened. His arms locked. He tried to bend, but couldn't. He tried to move, but his own suit resisted him. And then he realized something terrifying. He couldn't get back inside the hatch. It was too small. His suit was too big. He was stuck, outside his spacecraft, floating alone, with limited oxygen. There was no rescue mission, no backup plan. If he drifted away, he would never stop. And then came the worst thought of all. If he ran out of oxygen, no one would even hear it happen. His breathing grew heavier. Faster panic started to set in. But panic in space kills faster. So he made a decision, a dangerous one. He opened a valve inside his own suit. He began releasing oxygen, the very thing keeping him alive. If he released too much, he would pass out. Die right there. If he didn't release enough, he would never fit back inside. So he guessed in space. Alone, he guessed. The pressure dropped. His suit slowly shrank. Just enough with what little strength he had left. He forced himself back toward the hatch, twisting, struggling, barely moving. and somehow, he made it inside. He collapsed, dripping in sweat, heart racing, alive. Later, he would say something simple, something terrifying. I was very close to not making it. Space didn't need to kill him. It just needed one small mistake.
The spacecraft landed perfectly. Parachutes deployed on time. The descent was smooth, controlled, textbook. From a distance, it looked like a victory. Dust rose slowly from the Kazakh desert as recovery teams rushed toward the capsule. Cameras were ready. Officials were waiting, because inside that small metal capsule were 3 men who had just made history. It was 1971. The mission, Soyuz 11, had done something no one had done before. They had spent over 3 weeks in space, aboard the world's first space station. They weren't just astronauts anymore. They were heroes. As the recovery team approached, something felt off. No movement inside, no signal, no sound. They knocked on the hull, nothing. Still smiling, still expecting a normal response, they began opening the hatch. The metal door cracked open slowly, and then everything changed. Inside, the 3 astronauts were sitting exactly where they should be, strapped in, secured, but not moving, not reacting, not alive. At first, it didn't make sense. There was no fire, no damage, no signs of struggle. Just 3 bodies, completely still. Their faces had turned a dark shade of blue, their eyes slightly open, frozen in a moment no one witnessed. They were still warm, which meant whatever happened, happened recently. Investigators searched for answers. What could kill 3 trained astronauts inside a perfectly functioning spacecraft without leaving a single visible mark? Then they found it. A tiny pressure valve, no bigger than a coin. It had opened too early. As the capsule re-entered Earth's atmosphere, that valve released all the oxygen into the vacuum of space. In seconds, the cabin lost pressure. Air vanished. Sound disappeared. And inside that capsule, 3 men realized they were about to die. There was no explosion, no warning alarms loud enough to save them. Just silence. They tried to find the leak, tried to seal it. One of them even attempted to block it with his bare hands. But space doesn't give second chances. Within seconds, they lost consciousness. Within minutes, they were gone. By the time the capsule touched the ground, the mission was already over. They had survived space, only to die on the way home. To this day, they remain the only humans to have died in space itself.